everybody, it's October 6th. Welcome to the season premiere of Hot in Palm Springs on PromoHomo.TV. I'm your host, Nicholas Snow, and you still have time to register for this year's completely reimagined 2-day virtual Desert AIDS Walk. The information on where to do that is right up on the screen. With me on the show today, coming up in just a few minutes, I have Darrell Tucci, who's the Chief Development Officer with Desert AIDS Project. I registered for the walk today. And if you happen to see this episode and you want to sponsor my participation in Desert AIDS Walk, there's a link to do that at the top of my public Facebook page, where you can find out how to sponsor me personally. The reason I'm walking, however, is because I'm frankly alive today because of Desert AIDS Project. I've been a client of DAP, living powerfully with HIV. Been a client of theirs basically for most of the last 10 years. In fact, this broadcast is coming to you from my home studio at the Vista Sunrise Apartments, which is part of the campus of Desert AIDS Project. So Desert AIDS Project has not only changed my life, but DAP works with thousands of clients currently and tens of thousands of clients historically. DAP CEO David Brinkman, MBA, explains, "In many ways, the Desert AIDS Walk has always been virtual. When we took our first steps 34 years ago, we didn't know where we were going, but we knew the only way forward was together. The reason for the walk has never really been about balloon arches or walker t-shirts. It has always been about the collective power of community and our shared vision of a future where everyone has the patient-centered, comprehensive care they need to live their best lives. 34 years of walking has ensured those living with HIV and AIDS continue to thrive. We are applying the critical lessons from our past to current challenges, creating a roadmap to quickly open a COVID-19 triage clinic that has provided testing and respiratory treatment to more than 3,000 residents since the pandemic began." Brinkman concludes, "We are survivors. Fear cannot rule us. When crisis sets in, we step forward with hope. Register, walk. Step forward." Speaking of the collective power of the community, in today's broadcast, actually in a soft launch yesterday, I've introduced a Patreon account which allows viewers worldwide to support my network for as little as $3 a month. But more importantly, I'm inviting your support, whether or not you're in a position to join my Patreon, to empower the show. And one of the ways you can do that is by sharing the show. I have a short commercial about the Desert AIDS Walk and then a longer video about ways you can help PromoHomo.TV grow. And then I'm going to be back with David Brinkman. Darrell Tucci. I think of them as the same person sometimes, but they're very two different people. I'll be back with Darrell Tucci right after this.
Hope is on the horizon at Desert AIDS Project in Palm Springs.
That's because DAP is expanding healthcare services for the entire Coachella Valley.
But we do need your help. Join us Friday and Saturday, October 23rd and 24th, for virtual walks. They're just like walks in the past, except this year, you choose your path.
Invite your friends and family to support you and in turn, support DAP. Register or donate at desertaidswalk.org and walk for hope.
You're with me, it's alright. Together, all our lives, a new start is inside. We're falling, it feels right. It's okay to hold me. You know where I wanna be. It's okay to hold me.
And if you happen to be watching live and you comment during the show, I can put your comments on the screen and look forward to doing that. Without further delay, let me welcome to today's show Darrell Tucci. Hi, Darrell.
Hi, Nicholas. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you for being on the show. I love to support Desert AIDS Project. So what I know is that A, I've signed up to do the walk. B, it's virtual. C, I can do my walks on one of 2 days. I can decide my own route. I guess that would be D. And E, there have been a lot of selfie stops that have been crafted. That's kind of what I know. So why don't you describe in a nutshell what's going on with the walk this year and how people like me and others in the community can participate?
Sure, I'd be happy to, Nicholas, and thank you for registering today. I heard you share that at the top of the show. Much appreciate you having with us as you do every year. So obviously, due to COVID, like everything else, the AIDS Walk needed a little reimagining this year. And this year, it's called the virtual walk, but we actually still are encouraging people to go out and walk. So what we'd ask people to do is to go to desertaidswalk.org, click register, join a team or create a team if you'd like one, or feel free to register on your own. And you asking your friends to participate by supporting you is where the funding for our work comes from this event. So when Nicholas Snow, who registers today, asks all of you to support him, you're helping fund the vital work at Desert AIDS Project related to our supporting people living with HIV, helping end the HIV epidemic, as well as our frontline work on COVID and expanding healthcare access for everyone. Once you do that, you'll find on October 23rd at lunchtime, we'll have a broadcast special on KMAR to kick off the walk. We then encourage everyone from that point forward on Friday and or on Saturday to walk. The route that we walked as 2,000 people collectively last year is on our website. You can download the map and walk it again this year. There are public art stops along that walk to do selfies, as you mentioned. And also, you know what? Being we can't come together in a park as 2,000 people, if you don't live in Palm Springs, and we have people who come in from India and Desert Hot Springs and the high desert, etc. We've provided links to maps and parks and across the Coachella Valley where you may want to consider walking your 5,000 steps or 2.5 miles that day. And if you're someone who still prefers to be in the comfort of your home, feel free to use a treadmill or walk around your community as you see fit, alone, or gather 10 friends and do it together. The only thing, obviously, we ask is that if you do it with others, is to be mindful of your social distancing and to keep your mask on. And you will certainly have a mask because once you register, we'll be sending you the Desert AIDS Project branded mask for you to wear when you walk.
One of the things that actually excited me, Darrell, inspired me to sign up is that I was mentioning to you in the green room before the show started that I'm the only person, I have 2 people in my COVID bubble. And sheltering in place has been, very lonely. And I know that we're not getting 2,000 people together like we have in the past. But just the thought that for a 2-day period, people in my community who I love, who love me, who love our broader community and Desert AIDS Project are going to be out doing a similar thing. And we'll be wearing the mask that's branded Desert AIDS Walk, and we can connect in a safe, outdoor, socially distanced way. And frankly, I can't think of any other opportunity that I've known of to participate in the real world with other people, but still in a virtual and safe way.
Yeah, agreed. Like you, I have been working from home since March, and so in quite a bit of quarantining and isolation myself. I too look forward to being able to be outdoors and among others in small groups, but also together and fully connected in spirit with others who have come together that day, as we have every year for 34 years, to say, you know what, AIDS is not over. HIV is not over. We stand proud, we put on our sneakers, we walk, we raise important funds so DAP can continue its vital work. And knowing that there are other people doing that in spirit with us that day, whether I see them in person on the route or not, certainly brings me joy at a time when it's hard to find that some days. And I think just to add to the being connected, we'd really encourage everyone, as you register and you get your mask, take a selfie. Go to the Desert AIDS Walk page on our Facebook page, rather, and upload that photo and share it with the world. Share them with the world that you're walking. And on the days of October 23rd and 24th, do the same thing. Take a selfie with you, or you and your spouse, or you and your dog, or your friends who are walking socially distant together, and share it on the Desert AIDS Walk Facebook page, and share it with the world that you're walking, and connect with one another in that way.
Well, another point that we should make, since I'm reaching people all over the world, is that there are many people all over the world whose lives have been touched by Desert AIDS Project or similar organizations who are in a position to participate, and they may want to participate in their own communities from across the country or across the planet.
That's right. Even though I'm going to miss greatly being with everybody this year, the silver lining in this is that you can participate from anywhere, whether you're 2 miles down the freeway in San Diego or Los Angeles, or across the country in New York, or across the world in Europe or Asia. If you're listening to Nicholas, all you need to do is still go to the same website to register and walk your 2.5 miles or your 5,000 steps, however you'd like, wherever you'd like that's comfortable, and know that you're part of a collection of hundreds of people who are coming together to make our world a better place that day.
Thank you for that. I just mentioned that people who are watching live can comment on the screen, and we did have a comment from Deirdre. Oh, good. The emojis are showing. In the past, when I tried to show all these love emojis, they didn't display. But thank you, Deirdre, for tuning in and watching. One of the things that I was very impressed with, Darrell, is how Desert AIDS Project, in addition to maintaining its core mission of empowering people living with HIV and AIDS, was able to use its institutional knowledge to respond in unique and powerful ways to the COVID pandemic. And I was wondering if you would speak to DAP's ability to have done that and why it's been important at this crucial and still unbelievable and incomprehensible time in our world.
Nicholas, it makes me so proud to be an employee of Desert AIDS Project 7.5 years later after I joined, to see how the organization continues to step forward into places that most people and organizations would find uncomfortable. And in this case, DAP took its 35 years of rich history and working on ending the AIDS epidemic, and brought all of our infectious disease expertise and all of our amazing infectious disease specialists on campus together to figure out how we can best support this desert through the COVID pandemic. Within days, there was a COVID triage clinic set up on our campus where they were able to test, provide respiratory support where needed, provide linkage to care with hospitals where needed for people who tested positive, and to also monitor the progress of those people via phone and telehealth visits. For the patients who are already in our care, telehealth was launched within a matter of weeks in order to make sure that patients who already see us on a regular basis, whether it be for primary care or for HIV care or for hepatitis care, or they come to us for counseling, that all of that can still be done seamlessly in a virtual way, allowing the patient to stay home where they are safest when infection rates around COVID were at their highest. And then, as if to me that wasn't amazing enough, looking at our most vulnerable patients who really could not and should not leave their home, who are also some of the most low income, DAP managed to deliver groceries and toiletries to the homes of hundreds of people over the last several months, thanks to the support of this community, making sure that our most vulnerable not only had access to their health care, but they also had access to proper nutrition and their basic needs without having to put themselves at risk by going out to the grocery store.
Well, I describe myself consistently, publicly, and for years as a grateful client of Desert AIDS Project. But to speak more directly, Darrell, to my own experience, I didn't have any symptoms, but healthcare providers have been encouraging that even people that have no reason to think they have COVID access testing. So I was able to access a COVID test at the COVID clinic at Desert AIDS Project. Great. I was negative, as I expected to be. But also dealing with the loneliness and the isolation and the despair that can show up even for me during the pandemic. Correct. I'm able to meet weekly with Dr. Gover in your mental health department. I've participated in some of the Zoom meetings that have been offered for clients. And I was a little nervous at first when I needed to go in person to see my providers, but Desert AIDS Project has done such a flawless job in making that an extremely safe process from the moment you enter the building, if you're even allowed to enter the building, because we get screened when we enter the building. So, and there's more that I could say about Desert AIDS Project, but it's just so profound. And also, I've traveled around the world, lived outside the United States, and have seen the sort of HIV/AIDS care that is and is not available to others. And I think that one of the things that gets missed in the community of Coachella Valley, because we've been spoiled in so many ways by Desert AIDS Project, is how cutting edge and ahead of the curve the organization remains. So much so that CEO David Brinkman's been invited to the Obama White House on 2 occasions, and leaders of Desert AIDS Project are very connected to the UN AIDS efforts and so forth. Yeah. What would you like to say about the bigger picture of Desert AIDS Project's impact?
You know, Nicholas, I find it amazing that, I think of someone who came from a big city. I grew up outside of New York City and then moved to LA, and then moved to this beautiful desert. That I don't believe in my past experiences I ever would have imagined that I would move to what feels like in some ways a small town, to find that this wonderful organization not only does an enormous amount to care for this local community, but is now considered in many ways to be the best practices for others to follow around the country and around the world. And to your point, so much so that, the Obama White House, as well as UN AIDS, works with us on a regular basis to make sure that the extraordinary work that we do and the lessons that we're learning that can be paid forward are paid forward to others around the country and around the world, so that they can also do great work and helping to get closer to ending the HIV epidemic.
One of the things that impressed me when I registered for the walk today, frankly, the reason I hadn't registered yet is I couldn't wrap my head around how to participate in the walk. But of course, in researching for this show today, I got to see that it's very simple and exciting and quite doable and fun. So that's why I hadn't registered today. But when I did register today, it was very simple and exciting. And I was thrilled to see that even in this pandemic, I believe you're over a third to your overall goal. Did I read that correctly?
That's correct. We're at around $140,000 raised as of this morning, towards our goal of over $300,000.
So you're almost halfway there.
We're getting there, almost. We have been blessed with continued very generous support from many of our sponsors who've returned year after year, including our presenting sponsor, the Desert Care Network, and the presenting sponsor of our virtual health and wellness expo this year, Walgreens, as well as many others, including Gilead and the Grace Helen Spearman Foundation and Wintech, the Chandi Group and Nonstop Wellness, Palm Springs Motors, Palm Springs Disposal, Sempra, and there's a handful of others that I'm forgetting off the top of my head, AbbVie. And their sponsorships are a very large part of that total. And I certainly wouldn't be doing my job as the head of development if I just didn't give them all a wonderful shout out and thank you while you had me on here today.
Well, I personally love to acknowledge the sources of my power, and I welcome you doing that as well. I've made myself in a bigger picture because this shirt is from Revivals, and I've done over 33 episodes of PromoHomo.TV as we've expanded, and almost every single time I've been wearing clothes from Revivals, and I've always forgotten to mention it, but Revivals has 3 Coachella Valley locations that sell new and gently used articles, and all the proceeds go to benefit client services at Desert AIDS Project. They're all 3 open and functioning very safely, with sanitation when you walk in, limited capacity, social distancing throughout the stores and in the lines. And in my isolation, I was so happy to start basically making Revivals almost a daily ritual. Yet another jewel that's offered to the community because of its generosity in a way that empowers Desert AIDS Project.
Yes, Revival stores were unfortunately closed for a little while during the height of, or the beginning of the pandemic under state and county mandate, and we're thrilled that they are reopened again today, and they are a vital source of as you put it, I think just a way where community can connect, where folks can find merchandise that is both used and or new at very affordable pricing. And 3, all of the revenues from Revivals go to fund DAP's client wellness work.
That's very important. I'm typing right now into the comments how people can find the link to my particular fundraising page for Desert AIDS Walk. Is there anything that you would like to add that we haven't spoken about during the broadcast? And then I have another question I actually have for you.
I'd like to mention 2 quick things. The most frequent question I receive is, how do I get a test? How do I know if I should be tested, et cetera, et cetera? So anybody who has those questions, please go to desertaidsproject.org. At the very top of the website, on the homepage, you'll see a link for Q&A. So the Q&A will answer many of those questions. And then we operate a hotline that is open Monday through Friday during our business hours. That number is 760-992-0407. There are healthcare providers on that line, or who will return your message if we can't pick up the phone right when you call, who will help you with all the questions you have related to COVID, schedule you an appointment for a test if it's needed. The other is that one of the other things DAP did extraordinarily as COVID came through is understanding that so many people in our valley lost their employment. And with their employment, many also lost their health care. So we rolled out a program called One Call, that with one phone call, you can access an expert at DAP who within 45 minutes, this person will walk you through the options you have for accessing insurance and or a payer, whether it be government or private, and link you to that care and schedule you a doctor's appointment. So, and that phone number, being it is one call, is 760-992-0426. So if you're listening today and you need access to healthcare or behavioral healthcare, and you have uncertainties or insecurities around your health insurance and having a provider and or a payer, please call that number. The people who answer that line, their only job is to help guide you through that process today.
Everything you've talked about is accessible from desertaidsproject.org. I've put the website on the screen, reminding people that at the very top of the homepage is the information to the COVID-specific resources. And your one call process has been really quite effective. I've heard from other people that it's been quite powerful.
Good. To
get people connected to so many different resources so quickly.
Yeah, I understand the same. I understand dozens of people have made use of the service, have linked to care. A few people I know in my personal life have done so, particularly in accessing behavioral health care that they felt they really needed during these difficult times. And I was thrilled to see that the new process and how the team came together to make it worked wonderfully for these folks. So, I encourage people to make use of it.
I would not have kept it together without mental health care during this pandemic, living alone, and my connection to Desert AIDS Project has really been so vital for me. As I show the registration link again, Darrell, I was wondering, one of the things I'd love to know more about are about the different stops along the way, the art
Sure.
exhibits where people can take selfies. I'm looking forward to that particular piece of it.
Sure. So the primary route for those who have walked with us before would start at Ruth Hardy Park, and it would go up to Chiva, to Palm Canyon, down Palm Canyon to Museum Way, wrap around the Rowan, come back up Tockwitz, and then go back up Palm Canyon once again to Chiva to go back to Ruth Hardy Park. So that is the general route that we walked last year, and there is a downloadable map for that route again this year. If you haven't had the opportunity, the public art installations in the downtown area in and around the Rowan and the Starbucks are really wonderful. So what we're encouraging is that, if you do that route, plan a little extra time to leisurely spend some time in that area and not just walk right on by it in a hurry. The Public Art Commission has done a wonderful job, and they have really brought art to life in and around that area. So, wander a little bit in that neighborhood rather than just getting right back on the sidewalk to walk back. There's plenty of opportunities to take photos there. Then, one of our wonderful, very community-minded, active neighbors, Shan Carr, lives in Demuth Park in her neighborhood, and she really wanted to see a route there. So Shan put together a route. That route is also available on the Desert AIDS Walk site, as well as links to parks in Cathedral City, Desert Hot Springs, Rancho Mirage, Palm Desert, Coachella, and Indio. So we've got almost every city in the valley covered with an option that would be able to get you out of your house if you don't want to come to downtown Palm Springs. But the photo ops that we've been promoting within downtown Palm Springs are on the primary route, and that map is downloadable at desertaidswalk.org.
Which I've just showed again. So I'm going to show this commercial one more time for people that tuned in late, and I'm going to give you a final word.
Hope is on the horizon at Desert AIDS Project in Palm Springs.
That's because DAP is expanding healthcare services for the entire Coachella Valley.
But we do need your help. Join us Friday and Saturday, October 23rd and 24th, for virtual walks. They're just like walks in the past, except this year, you choose your path.
Invite your friends and family to support you and in turn support DAP. Register or donate at desertaidswalk.org and walk for hope.
I'll be walking for hope, and I know you are too, Darrell.
Absolutely.
Is there anything you'd like to say in conclusion?
The only thing I'd like to say, Nicholas, is that you mentioned the challenges of living in isolation, and we all are struggling as humans, I think, through probably the most unprecedented time in a couple generations. And I think it's very easy to get stuck. I was taught many years ago the best thing to do when not in a great place is to do something for others. So what I'd like to invite folks to do is that if you're sitting there listening and you are struggling with life today, use this as a moment to step forward with us. Register, do something for someone else, which I promise you is doing something for yourself. Getting outside in the fresh air, the physical activity, knowing you're making the impact in the lives of others. When that weekend is over, you will feel so much better than you did when that weekend started. So join us. Step forward with Nicholas and myself and my colleague Steve Henke, who you just saw on those commercials, and hundreds of others across the valley. And let's show the world that we care and raise a lot of money to help support DAP's work for both HIV and COVID.
Well, thank you so much, Darrell, for being on the show today. It's always great to see you, and I look forward to perhaps seeing you along the walk or someplace in the real world as safety allows at some point.
Yes, my friend, I miss seeing your face in person. I can't wait to give you a hug when we can again.
I look forward to that. I think I've had 2 hugs in 8 months.
Yeah.
So, such is life. Anyway, thank you for your love and service.
Thank you, my friend. Much appreciate you having me.
My pleasure. For those of you who have been watching, I appreciate your support, not only by supporting Desert AIDS Walk, and once again, if you go to my public Facebook page, search Facebook for Nicholas Snow, click on the Pages tab in the search results, you'll find my public page, the blue check mark next to my name. And between now and the end of the second day of the walk, I've pinned a link to the top of that page where you can support my walk, but you can also register for Desert AIDS Walk, and I encourage you to do so. And until next time, I'm Nicholas Snow.
You're with me, it's alright. Together, all our lives, a new star is inside.